So I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome to our school committee meeting at the Lowell School, which we haven't done forever, as far as I know. But we're great to appreciate the Lowell opening their doors to us and having this meeting. So we're going to actually start something that's not on the agenda, but the tradition at the Lowell School is to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then they have their own pledge as well. So we'll stand for that.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now for the Lowell School Pledge.
We in the Lowell community show cooperation and kindness when we work and play together. Show integrity by being honest. Show perseverance by never giving up. We work for equity. We may not all get the same, but we all get what we need and do our personal best every day.
So our first item on the agenda is actually a public forum. At school committee meetings, we have a public forum at the beginning and then one at the end when it's an opportunity for anyone who wishes to speak on a school-related matter. So anyone wish to speak at this point in time in the public forum? Okay. Next item is the presentations. We have the Watertown Community Foundation is going to make a presentation, and David Siegel is going to represent.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you very much to the rest of the committee for giving us an opportunity to make this presentation. I am David Siegel. I'm the co-president of the Watertown Community Foundation, and I'm just going to report quickly on a few items since the last time we spoke to the committee was, I believe, June of 2018, and at that point we were just merging with the Watertown Education Foundation, so we wanted to just kind of give you a quick update on how that's gone, and to let you know some of the things that we've been doing, and some board members are here. I'll introduce those in a moment. So, as I'm sure you are all aware, we were founded in 2003 to build and sustain a close-knit community, and then, as I mentioned, in February of 2018, we merged with the Watertown Education Foundation. By 2018, over the course of the Community Foundation's history since its founding, the foundation had awarded over $1 million in grants into Watertown, into the community. We're a 501c3 nonprofit corporation, an all-volunteer board that is now 17, with a half-time executive director, Jan Singer, who is here, who's going to stand up. So I'm sure all of you know her. If not, please meet Jan. We added 5 new board members in 2018, including the president of the Watertown Education Foundation, who joined the board of the Community Foundation. We are now almost as large a board as we've ever had. I think at one point we were 18. And I'll introduce our new board members. So we have, I don't believe she's able to be here this evening, but Ashley Morris, who has 2 children here at the Lowell. Antonio O'Hara, who is here. Antonio, you can stand up, who you may know from the Watertown Savings Bank, born and raised in Watertown. Maria Panaggio Phillips, who's also here.
Also Phillips alum, just want to say.
Yes, right. Also with 2 children at the Cuniff. I don't believe Tony Palillo was able to get here this evening, although obviously many of you will remember him as a former school committee chair. Lauren Unsworth, who is here, who you probably know as the PTO, president of the Lowell School, who has a child at Lowell, and another one on the way. And we have some other board members as well who are not new, but of course valuable. I see Bob Arazian hiding in the back, and Bob Shea, also a former school committee member, and who else am I? Oh, and Eleanor Donato, who taught everyone in middle school, and I think that's the entire. Those, if there's any board members, okay, great. So, so that's a quick rundown on our scale. In terms of our engagement with the Watertown Public Schools overall, we've continued the fundraising events that the Ed Foundation made so popular. The Spelling Bee on March 31st of this year, the Teacher Tribute at the, in conjunction with the schools at the end of the school year. And coming up, I know many of you will mark your calendars right now, Trivia Night on November 22nd. This year we awarded, this for 2019, so it already happened the end of last year, just about $30,000 in grants to Watertown public school teachers, and the RFPs for 2020 are due next month, the 17th of November. And among the things we also did were provided funds for an SAT prep course that the high school is running with a new college admissions mentoring program. So just in case you didn't get that on your calendar, that in a second.
David, I just want to say that there's a typo for the
Oh.
RFPs due. You actually have 2 extra days. It's
Oh.
the 19th.
The 19th, okay.
I made the change, but it didn't get through, so sorry
Okay,
about that.
thank you. And in terms of the other significant ways I think that the foundation's engaged with the school system, we've really increased our summer internship program for Watertown high school age students. So this is a program open to any high school age student, regardless of whether they're at the high school or not. And that's grown from 5 students to 14 this past year, this year. So we've almost tripled the size in just running it for 4 years, and that's a $1,000 stipend that's provided to high school age students who do at least 6 weeks of part-time work at a business, nonprofit, government entity in Watertown or outside of Watertown. And in fact, one of the participants is here tonight, Maya Vashon. If you want to just come up, Maya. Maya was a 2-time internship recipient, and she's just going to tell you a little bit about that experience.
So I've actually done 3.
Oh,
I've done one every summer of my high school career, and it's been by far the most exciting experience of my life, because I've done one at a cat shelter, which was super fun. I've done one at the residence at Watertown Square, which is an assisted living facility right in Watertown Square, blocks away from my house. And now I have a job there, so that transferred to a job. And my 3rd one was at the Perkins School for the Blind. That was this past summer. And all 3 of them have been so much fun. And I really would not trade that for the world, so I want to thank Watertown Community Foundation for that. And a quick fact that I learned from each one of them, different cat shelter, I had to take the bus there and back every day alone. So it was really fun, and made me more independent, because I was insecure and shy coming in as a freshman. And at the residence at Watertown Square, I learned a small fact that green is the last color that people can see as they get older. So I would wear my lime green shirt to work every day. It was really fun. And now I've built such strong personal connections with each of the residents. They're like my own grandparents, like a little community of grandparents. And at the Perkins School for the Blind, as you can imagine, it was incredibly enriching. And I got to connect with kids from birth to age 18 or even older than that, and also their parents as well. So it was just amazing in general. So thank you.
also participating in, we have a board member and our executive director is participating in the school superintendent's anti-bias coalition, and we are also assisting in coordinating the weekend backpack program that's just getting underway, I believe, in conjunction with the Rotary and the public schools. And that is the end of our presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
So thank you very much, David and the other board members for coming. Questions from the committee? Any questions or comments? Yes,
I just
Kendra.
want to say thank you. It's a really big part of the community. It's, as a member of the Hosmer School, you've given so many grants that have enriched so many programs for many years, and we are deeply appreciative of that. So thank you.
Thank you. We're honored to do it.
Yeah, no, I think, and the joining of that foundation with the community foundation, I think has really been a big plus for the community. So, great work. Appreciate it very much. I will say the trivia night, we have a full school committee that's planning for that.
As chair, I understand that you could control the calendaring of the meetings, and if you saw there was some urgent community event that conflicted with it,
We're in. We're going to lose, but we're in.
We're not going to lose. We're going to beat the administration.
We're going to be, yeah, that's our goal. Yeah, we're fine.
Great.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Teaching and Learning Showcase, and this will feature some activities at the Lowell. I'll turn it over first to the superintendent.
So we are very excited this evening to be here at the Lowell Elementary School, and one of the reasons for having the school committee meeting in a building is to showcase some of the excellent work that's happening within our buildings and highlighting some of the students in terms of what they're doing within the building. So we are very, very excited to be here. It is perfect that this school committee meeting coincides with STEM Week, which is a statewide initiative, and schools across the Commonwealth are participating in STEM Week. And right here in each of our buildings, we have excellent programs that are planned for all of our students, all the way from the elementary schools to the high schools. So we're very excited about STEM Week, and we have some individuals here who are going to share some of the adventures that they're going to be having this week. I'd like to introduce Rashmi Pimprakar, who is our Digital Learning and Library Coordinator, and Kelly McCullum, who is also our Library Media Specialist here at the Lowell Elementary School. And I'm going to hand it over to them so that they can share with you what we're doing.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be part of the Watertown community. We have amazing presenters, Charles, Daniela, and Martha Ann. We are going to talk about the challenges that they have put in for you so that you can engage with them and ask them questions. So Charles, you want to go first? What are the challenges you're going to explain to them?
I think you can use either that microphone or the one over here.
Yeah, so we have VBAR challenges. You want to explain a little bit?
So basically, there are some coding challenges that look pretty fun, and you have to like program the bees so that they can make it to, for this one, like to a certain destination. So one over here, it's a bee life cycle. This is basically a train station, and this one is where it's a bunch of animals, and you're trying to find and trying to code the bee so that it can go to like 4 different animals. And then there's also a shoot the letters one.
Yeah, and Charles is very excited to have you play with these and solve the challenges. So is Danielle. Danielle, do you want to talk about the Fitbit? They were designing a Fitbit so all of us can get fitter and count the number of steps. And they have one that they bought from the store, and then one that they made. So it's right here. Oh, we have one working.
So basically, this is like our model of our Fitbit, and basically, so when you shake it, and you can also do this on the computer, where it like shake, and you can increase the steps, and it'll say it with the little lights. You can also make it like make songs. Well, you don't make them, but the right songs. And you can kind of like code it and like change settings and stuff like that. Or like, for example, there's this which is like you change your step by one. You can change it by I don't know how many, whatever you want. You can stop your animation. You can show the number of steps, or you can hide them. Yes.
So that was one of the models of Fitbit that they're designing, and they're prototyping it. So if you want to buy Fitbits, this is a entrepreneur class that we're looking at. And then they have one more windmill challenge. They were designing environment robots and windmills, and they're right here. So if anyone wants to take on the robot challenge and explain to our audience. Yes?
So for the windmill challenge, you have to build a windmill using these Legos, and you have to basically all these Legos to try to create the windmill.
Absolutely. They're very, very generous in teaching you some of these if you're interested, and you can engage with them even after the school committee meeting if you want, or now, depending on the time.
Can we do one of the bee lots?
Absolutely.
Yes. Lily would like to do one of them.
Yes. So beautiful. Go ahead.
What do I have to do?
So for this one, there's a little scenario.
Oh, I need a picture.
It's like this. So Mr. Snake. Or any like. You can do anyone. Anyone. But we're gonna do Mr. Snake.
Like their neighborhood kind of.
So they're very friendly with their neighborhood, but they're not very friendly with anyone else other than their neighborhood. Which.
Oh, good. I have a ringer now.
Their neighborhood is the unicorn, the lion, the rat, the moose, and the fox.
And their mom wants them to be friends with
Four other
people, four other animals from outside their neighborhood. So you have to program like the bee to. You have to program the bee to.
So maybe we want them, you want to give them the challenge to program the bee?
Oh, I like this.
Program the bee, and then after you're done with all the arrows, you press go, and you're trying to get to one of the four other
And
animals.
make sure you press clear every time.
Yeah, after.
Can someone show me how would you just get the bee to the penguin?
So since it's two squares, you do go twice, and then you have to rotate it. So this, and you go forward twice. Then you press go.
Oh, good.
Oh my gosh. Twice.
It doesn't always
Turn.
exactly end up on one.
Yeah. Close enough. Oh yeah, that's around Martha Ann. Nicely. There you go. That was awesome.
Okay. So Lily, we made friends with the penguin. Now I think you have to make friends with another animal.
How about the butterfly?
Oh, you're. Okay.
Now so.
Wait. Here we go. Ready? Wait. I'm gonna take it. You guys are gonna help me, Martha Ann.
Okay.
Come here. So we have to go all the way to the butterfly. So how many up do I have to do? One.
Clear. Oh, clear.
Wait. Okay. Clear it. Okay. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I need to rotate it right.
Yeah.
And then I go forward. How many, Daniela?
3.
1, 2, 3. Okay, go.
Yep. Well, we
Okay,
discovered
fingers
that
crossed.
when you press the arrow, it only rotates it. It doesn't actually.
It doesn't actually make
Yeah,
it go
like,
at space.
Yeah, that's the.
Did you have to try and
Tried it,
retry a
yeah.
few things?
Nice job.
Deep breaths. Okay. Wait. High five. Thank you.
Fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Hey, you're just.
Hey John, I think we're done here.
Yeah, we can go play with these.
No one wants to make a
Great job.
Good job, guys.
Thank you very much. Also, as part of the showcase, and you'll see it on the agenda, we wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to present a little bit about what's going to happen with a new Lowell school. This is looking down the road a little bit, but I think, as you may know, the Watertown is engaged in a pretty exciting set of projects around the elementary schools and now the high school as well. But I'm going to turn it over first to Mark Sedaris, who's president of the town council, but also chair of the school building committee. And he's going to say a little bit about it and then turn it, I think, over to the principal. I think they can pick you up. Can you pick them up over there? Yeah. Okay, fine.
Thank you. What you're seeing here tonight is where we are right now, except for the terrace, which is being redone due to some comments that the building committee has made. The building committee, to get to this point, has had over 40 meetings, and this is especially the addition to the right of the screen, that was a challenge and has gone back and forth from the committee several times. So this is what the outside is going to look like potentially, and like I said, the terrace is going to change. But we continue to have meetings, and it took us 40 meetings to get here, and what you're going to see on the inside that Stacy's going to go over is pretty exciting. And this is a project that has taken many different twists and turns from the beginning. There were a couple more additions on it in the beginning. Those have been removed. Just so you know, it's been a lot of work to get to this point. And I think it's going to be very exciting when it's done. It's going to be a modern facility. It's going to be an exciting place to teach and learn. And I think the kids that are going to be here, they might not be, but there'll be other kids that come that are going to enjoy this a lot. And I guess we'll turn it over to Stacy at this point to go over some of the insides.
There's a clicker up there. Yes, you can click through.
So what we're looking at here is the new addition that's being built, and it's kind of, you can imagine, it's where we currently have a parking lot right outside the kindergarten wing of our building. And so this will take that place, and you'll see that this will be now a new entry point for our kindergarten and our younger grades for the school. This is our kind of redone, I think it kind of looks like a Cape Cod-y school almost. This will be our new entrance. It just softens up the front. We'll have a lot more greenery. It just looks a little homier. It looks kind of like matches now what the front looks like, so the back and the front will look the same. This is the Learning Commons, and this is the big addition, and so inside here, we're going to be able to look out and see that beautiful lawn and see the garden and see the learning garden area and the outdoor classrooms and the playground from here. And this is where we'll be able to have about 3 classrooms. Pretty much a whole grade will be able to fit into this room, and they'll be able to do bigger projects, kind of do different types of group learning. This will also be an area we can gather. And now we're kind of looking up. Almost imagine we're over by where the grass is, and we're looking at the building. And up there on the 2nd floor is teacher collaboration space. So that'll be a big area where we can do professional development, and teachers can gather and really have a great space to look over the kids at, but also just really wonderful area to just take in the atmosphere. There's also a little a performance stage, so we can hold theater right there. And so we love doing Readers Theater, and this is an opportunity for us to do Readers Theater and showcase it to our parents and to the full grade. This is here right now in the library, and so if you imagine what we're facing right now is going to be this little kind of cozy nook where we can all gather and the kids can have little spots to go and read. We know that they like to find little spots to hide and gather, and so if you see they have little nooks and crannies they can enjoy reading. And then this right here is just a renovated classroom, and so you can see it has lots of flexible furniture so that we could kind of move in and out of larger and smaller groups. It's just open, airy, gives us a lot of area so that we can display student work. And then this is our makerspace area, and so this area is going to also be adjoined to our art area so that the area can be expanded for big projects, but it can also kind of spill from art into makerspace and makerspace into art. They're adjacent to one another. And this is the art room, which is right next door to it. And so as you can see, there's a lot of area to get messy with our art supplies and just really create some beautiful projects. This is our hallway area right outside of the student art area. And this area is, if you can see, there's a lot, the architects really listen to us that we really want to make the school feel like a museum of all of the students' artwork so that as you go through Lowell, you'll be able to see all the wonderful artwork that the children are creating. Sorry. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Stacy. As Mark said, this is a long-term project, the school building projects, both with the Cuniff, the Hosmer, and the Lowell. So it'll be something the district will be engaging in over the next several years, and the high school will be coming along as well. So we're going to have a lot of work to be done here in Watertown. Very exciting work. We're going to move into the kind of business part of the agenda. Our first action item is an approval of minutes from October 7th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. We have several different reports, starting with the curriculum subcommittee. This is a subcommittee of the school committee. Lindsay?
Sure. So the curriculum subcommittee met on Thursday afternoon, just a few days ago, to go over with the school administration a detailed look at MCAS results for the district. A few weeks ago at the full school committee meeting, we had a general overview of the accountability status and report for each school. And then in this meeting, the administration put together an impressive team of every principal and all the coordinators to discuss in detail what was going on with the MCAS results and action plans and things like that moving forward. And so we got a lot of great information. We were able to have a great discussion back and forth about the presentation that they're giving tonight. And we had no action items, I don't think. And I think that's about it. So we're going to hear the results of that meeting in a few minutes.
Okay. All right. We'll hold off on, we usually get a written report, then we'll approve that at the next meeting. So we'll hold off on approval for that. But next item is the middle school turnaround plan. And we'll start with the superintendent.
Excellent. Well, you can come up too. So, as we've been discussing over the past year and now a couple of months, the last year, and Principal Martin and her Heidi Ross is also here to discuss a little bit about that. But based upon our performance, not in the 2019 school year, but the 2018 school year, the department had designated us in need of support, and that was in the form of creating a turnaround plan. So all at pretty much mid-year last year, all the way up through now, we continue to work on the turnaround plan, but the middle school has turned in a turnaround plan to the department. It's been approved, and they're here this evening to pretty much go over what the turnaround plan is all about and what it means for the Watertown Middle School, because quite frankly, I think it's going to be an excellent opportunity for us to really focus on teaching and learning and moving forward. So without further ado.
All right, thank you. So we're going to focus tonight mostly on Section 5 and Section 7, which is sort of our action plan for the next, well, it lays up for a year, but it'll be for 3 years overall. The turnaround plan is linked on the middle school website, so if anybody's interested in reading it. There's lots of great information in there, sort of about the school. I'll just run through. There's an executive summary, a stakeholder engagement, envision the future, Section 3, Section 4, the analysis of our assets and challenges. We're going to talk about Section 5, strategic objectives and initiatives aligned to the turnaround practices. Section 6 is how the district is going to support us, and then Section 7, goals, benchmarks, and progress monitoring. So we formed
if I just do this. Okay. So we started off by forming an instructional leadership team this summer, of which Heidi is a member, so thank you for joining us. So it's 10 teachers, Mr. Del Porto, the assistant principal, and myself. We met for a few times over the summer. One of the things that came out of it, and I think, not to repeat ourselves, but we were fortunate to have Schoolworks, a consulting company, in with us for 2 days last year. We did focus groups, we did classroom observations, and gave us a lot of feedback and helped us write the turnaround plan. And one of their main suggestions was that we needed sort of a common instructional focus for the whole school. So I'll get to that in a second. So our common instructional focus, which we'll be talking about in turnaround practice 1, is learning targets. So we're gonna talk about that. So if you see IF, that's instructional focus. From the ILT, there's a lot of acronyms in here. I apologize for that. Kind of an educational school thing. And we have our professional learning teams, which are PLTs. So we'll address all of those. So a lot of our early work, we've done a ton of things already, is around the instructional focus and the learning targets. So if you're in a middle school classroom, any middle school classroom, you'll see the learning targets on the board, which is mostly in student-friendly language with academic language. I can, so I will, compare and contrast, or distinguish, or verbs, analyze, collaborate, any of those things. And so the main thing is, so all the teachers start their class by talking about the learning targets and unpacking, which is not a popular word, but it fits it. And so unpacking the learning targets and sort of making sure the students understand what analyze means, what does compare and contrast mean, things like that. So we'll be developing this throughout the year. So by the end of the school year, not only will students come to expect learning targets, they'll know what they can do by the end of the period or by the end of the unit, but they also will be able to reflect upon their learning and identify whether or not, assess themselves, whether or not they've achieved the learning target. So it's going to be really terrific. So as part of this, there's 4 main turnaround practices that are addressed in section 5. So you can read it, but turnaround practice 1, leadership, shared responsibility, professional collaboration, intentional practice for instruction, student supports, and then school culture and climate. So we're just going to run through these. So the turnaround plan is a dense document, and so I'm just going to say I'm not taking credit for this PowerPoint. It's an excellent PowerPoint that really breaks it down. I couldn't in good conscience take credit for it. One of my guidance counselors has an administrative license and said, what can I do for you administratively? I said, well, I've been trying to figure out a different way to write the turnaround plan so that we can read it and really make sure we're not missing any part of it. And so I had some sort of rudimentary list in my mind, or chart, and she came up with this unbelievable, so she doesn't want to be named, but I'm just not going to take credit for it, because if you asked me to make an error on a PowerPoint, I couldn't do it. So that's one of my goals for the year. That's my learning target for the year. I can make an arrow on a PowerPoint by the end of the year. So there's 8 different slides. So for the 4 different turnaround practices, and the first one sort of identifies what we need to do. So this is for turnaround practice 1. So one of the things we need to do, new teaming structures. The establishment of the ILT, which we did this summer. So the ILT has really been working with the professional development team as well to determine our professional development for the year, and really make sure it's middle school centered and it's everything that the teachers need in order to teach the students, to provide what they need for the students. And so as part of it also, we created 5 professional learning teams, PLTs, the school culture team, the advisory team, which is going to be looking at our advisory, which meets twice a week in the morning. The data team, which is figuring out, we've been collecting a lot of data, figuring out how to house that data, and then how to use it, so make it accessible for the teachers. And then we're creating a new English language arts and social studies curriculum with the changing of the humanities. And then the MTSS, another acronym, multi-tiered systems of support. We also have here response to intervention, or RTI. So really looking at how can we maybe alter our schedule a little bit to provide targeted intervention for students, or targeted enrichment for students. So really looking at flexible grouping and seeing what do students need, and having some flexibility in their schedules and where they go to make sure they get what they need, and that's the key. And I like that in the Lowell pledge. It's not always the same, but we get what we need. I think that's awesome, and I'd like to bring that up to the middle school too. So here's how we'll know, because I have to put a report at the end of the year to DESE, about sort of how we know we're meeting our goal. So we have the ILT, so on the left is mostly about the ILT. We've been surveying staff after professional development.
really taking into their feedback and using that to move forward. So like last time we had heard they needed more support on learning targets. After this last time on October 16th, they said, yep, we got it. We know learning targets now, so now we're going to move on to sort of the next thing, sort of incorporating learning targets even more, making sure students can assess themselves. So really, making sure staff also gets what they need. And then for students, so it's all, again, all about the learning targets. And now Heidi, I'll stop talking. Heidi can talk about number 2.
So I'm going to talk about number 2. The school employs intentional practices for improving teacher-specific and student-responsive instruction. And it goes back again, determining the instructional focus, the learning targets. They're also standard-based. I'm not going to mention that.
Oh, thank you.
So looking at the standards, and so we don't just pull them out of thin air. They're connected. Regular observations by leaders and ILT. So we actually have a checklist which will change as the year progresses. So right now we have a checklist. We're right in the middle of doing this, where we go into classrooms and just look, are they posted, can I see the learning targets? Are they always at the same place? Are they in student-friendly language? Are they related to the standards? And then in the next term, we will look at how are teachers unpacking them, how are they presenting them, all the way to then how is it all tied together. So we're starting just by, they're there, they're in student-friendly language, they make sense, they're regularly posted, and then all the way to like how are they incorporated into the lesson. We are also looking at our cluster team times, because in the school works report it came that we have a lot of strengths already. We have those cluster times, but we weren't always using them in the most efficient way. So we're looking at who gets together, guidance, and for emotional support for students. We have data meetings, we have business meetings, and we're all taking minutes now that get sent to you that you can then, I think you send them on to Desi, right? So it's much more data driven, our discussions, than they used to be. And that also is done with the help of instructional coaches. So we have a math coach, Jane Evans now, and a literacy coach, Kelly Spillane, who comes to those meetings as well to support us. And you can look at what so our goal is that that everyone is being observed by October 2019. So we should be able to do that. We're pretty close. And this is not evaluative. I want to say because we had a lot of discussion. So because I'm a colleague of, so I'm observing other colleagues. So it's anonymous. We fill out. Yes, I saw in the classroom. I saw the learning target posted. They were in student-friendly language. They're linked to standards, but we don't put names on it. It's really just like what percentage of teachers are posting them. What do they look like? So it's not evaluative.
They're learning strolls. They're very friendly.
It's learning strolls. We still had a lot of discussions over that. Because some people, it's like changing the culture, making people used to having other people constantly in their room, and it's easier for some people than for others.
And we're opening it up for others, so all teachers can observe all teachers, not just the ILT. All teachers have the opportunity to check out everybody's classroom, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then for students, we're looking at iReady data, and you can just, if you can read it, the percentage, the 50% of students will demonstrate growth by December, 65% will demonstrate growth by March, and then 80% by June. And for math, it's the same goals.
Okay, so turnaround practice 3, that the school is able to provide student-specific supports and interventions informed by data and identification of student-specific needs. So basically, we're just be constantly looking at data, the Tier 1 instruction, the iReady, MCAS, Atlas, the daily formative assessment, keep looking at student work, right? Ensuring, like Heidi was talking about with our common planning time, we're very fortunate to have those supports, but teachers have plenty of time, or not plenty, it's never plenty of time, but have built-in time to look at all this data, look at student work, and figure out, how to use that to inform their instruction, inform their assessment, and have some time. And so we'll be collaborating as well with the SSOS student. Oh, I wrote it in my memo. But anyways, support students from DESE to figure out MTSS. And one of our teams is going to go to different schools. Like for example, one of the middle schools in Natick has an excellent MTSS system and schedule. So we'll be looking at that to figure out how to implement that, because scheduling is kind of the toughest part. So, some of the things we'll look at: 100% of teachers will examine and analyze student data each week. So it really is, I would say everybody's really getting involved and really meeting together and looking at student data. We have lots of iReady meetings, and we'll be looking for, decrease in number of referrals to special education. And some of these numbers, it's interesting, the first year of the turnaround plan, I definitely will need to adjust some of these numbers for year 2. You don't know what you don't know until you don't realize you didn't know it. So we will adjust some of these numbers, but I think they're pretty much on target, really looking to reduce suspensions. We implemented a responsive classroom, so instead of sort of more the disciplinary, the break it, fix it sort of a thing, the time and space, the responsive classroom techniques that the elementary school principals and teachers are using, so that will be able to carry up to us as well. And then the final one.
So the final one, the school is able to provide safe, orderly, and respectful environment for all students and a collegial and collaborative culture among teachers. So that goes, we have what you just mentioned, the responsive classroom. So we're implementing programs. We found, again, with the schoolworks, they found that, in the classrooms, the teachers were clear about their expectations, I think, but it wasn't school-wide. So we have the PLTs now that work on creation for school culture, and one advisor PLT. So that's to unify like the expectations and everything, and community building activities across the whole school. And one of the things the teachers, if you look at teachers, will contact families, and not just for disciplinary action, so that we reach out, introduce ourselves, have more contact with parents. We have the PLT results in spring, and I think that's a mistake. We all have joined PLTs. It says by September 2019. And then with students, you reduce the tardiness, the absentees, the referrals for behaviors.
Questions? I think that's it.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Questions from the committee? Questions or issues? Yeah.
Just a quick one. What percentage of prep time is taken up in various meetings at the middle school?
So all teachers have 2 sort of non-teaching periods a day.
Yep.
So one of those is a common planning time, and the other one is a prep.
And the other is prep.
Yep, so 50%, I guess.
Okay.
No math teacher,
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Andrew?
You had mentioned the growth goals for students, like in December and March and June. And you'd said like 80% by June. What does it mean to have growth? Like, is it any growth or?
I think it was with iReady, I can go back and look at it, but I think it was iReady, and again, those dates would have to be adjusted a little bit, probably more like January and then May, because it's 2 diagnostic times. But just, so all the students have their typical growth goals. So just that 80% will, reach their typical growth.
Oh, their own growth,
Their own growth.
individual growth
Yeah.
goals. I understand. Okay, thank you.
Because I already breaks it down,
Yes.
typical goal, stretch goal.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're saying 80% will reach their typical growth. Do you have any stretch growth goals, or is that not part of it?
We don't this year, but maybe next year. I'll be interested to see, because last year we had a very soft rollout already, as you know, so we can't really, so I'll be interested to see how this year goes, and then when we do year 2 of the turnaround plan, the goals, maybe we can make some stretch goals, like really, pushing things a little bit further.
It's interesting, we just had the data checks with the students, which we didn't do last year. I don't know whether it's Julie set the goals and see how that all matches up. So the students are hopefully a lot more engaged in it, because last year I felt like someone, oh yeah, it's now why we do this, and some went backwards.
Other questions from the committee? I just had one general question on the learning targets, the instructional focus. Could you give a couple examples of kind of what that looks like? You kind of described like it might be in a classroom a phrase about learning or kind of developing a particular skill. If that's kind of like posted somewhere in the room, or can you
One I saw, I'm trying to think of the ones I saw today, I can pull out more specific evidence from a reading so that I can strengthen my CER arguments, my claim evidence reasoning arguments. So something like that I can,
But do students see this?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, all
Yeah,
the
they see it. So in math, it was, I can use prime factorization to find the common factor would be
I post it somewhere in the room.
Post it and I mean, that's how I start my lessons. I go through the learning target and I try, so I'm the ESL teacher, so I try to teach them a lot of language at the same time. So then you break it down, like, oh, what does that mean? And then, yeah, what do you know already about it? So that their mind is like, they know where you're going.
And the goal is to have each teacher post it in the same place every day. So students know where they know what to expect.
And then at the end, you have an exit of various activities to demonstrate that the students can demonstrate that actually achieve the target.
All right, thank you very much.
On language in every subject, so to speak. Including the emotional behavioral coming up in the elementary school to the middle school, even if you're using that same language we did last year, like carrying on that same type of language.
And we've seen a change. It's been really interesting just to see the responsive classroom. So the teachers who did the training over the summer, they started really strong with setting, establishing or using the language. And I didn't do the training, but a lot of teachers who didn't kind of got caught up. Just be and using the same, we using the same language. And it was a very different start to the year. It was really good to see better kids because the expectations were the same, the consequences were the same. So our cluster did, because some people did the training, they did a lot of work for the students. And it's really made an impact already.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Anything else? Other comments? Yes.
I mean, I was just at the middle school, which was a lovely day. But I think that one of the big differences here about the learning targets is it's not just that they're posted on the board, but you can talk to students. They all know what the learning targets are. You know, it's not just doing something because somebody's telling you to do it. I think people are walking this, and it really makes a huge difference when students know where they're going. It can make the difference. So I'm just very pleased from my walkthrough that I saw them in every classroom, get little targets on them. So I think it's taking hold.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next item is the 2019 MCAS results.
Excellent. Well, Ariel is setting that up.
Right.
Yes, there you go. I am Teresa McGinnis, the Assistant Superintendent in Watertown, and I'm very pleased to present some results in just a moment, but I wanted to give two comments, and one is it takes a village, and the middle school staff, faculty, and support staff have done a tremendous job in the creation of this document, which is extensive, and you can look at it online, and they did a swell job of showing the highlights of it, but also in implementing this change. And now we all know they're great teachers, but what was missing is we didn't have the curriculum aligned as well to the standards. So as they shared with you tonight, they've done a stellar job by football game for the Patriots. So we will go swiftly through this, but it's very important data and information to share with folks. We did share it at the subcommittee meeting earlier this week in detail, and it's also online on the school committee documents. We will add a memorandum that I also have written, so it's, we have 49 slides because we have 5 schools to go through, but the memorandum is just sort of like streamlining the basic essence of those slides. So we'll put that into the folder as well after this meeting. So let me see if this is on. Yeah, beauty. All right, so the contents of tonight, so we are saying over and over again, we are staying the course. And by that, what we mean is it's not one and done. We want teachers to trust what we're doing here, and I believe that they do because they're seeing the outcomes in the students that they have, and they're seeing the opportunities for professional development to continue. So I'm going to go over a few of those things, the initiatives that over the last 2 into this 3rd year that have been going on that are making a difference for our student success. The types of MCAS, the legacy versus the next generation, I'll go over quickly. Accountability, Dr. Galston presented our accountability PowerPoint on the 7th of October, so you can check that out, but I just want to review briefly. The MCAS results in English language arts, science, and in math, and also achievement versus growth, looking at our subgroups and then all of our students, and then also a couple examples of cohorts, which means a 3rd grader, that same 3rd grader into 4th, into 5th, and is anything good happening there? And the answer is yes. And then some action steps. Okay, so the positive trajectory in student achievement and growth. I can't say that enough. The reasons why are many. So I put as many as could fit onto this slide. But basically, Dr. Galston mentioned, and so did Donna actually, about the professional learning teams at the middle school, for example. You saw the 5 different groups that she had there. Every school has professional learning teams, and it's all inquiry-based, meaning taking data, real relevant data of their students, looking at an issue or an area of growth, and then doing some sort of intervention around it, and then adjusting practice along the way. So we have increased time for collaboration, as Donna gave an example of earlier, but it's in all 4 schools. We have articulated the curriculum much better at all schools, but particularly at the secondary level. They are using Understanding by Design framework, which at another school committee meeting we went deep into. And we're housing all of this in Atlas, which is an online management tool, which to folks who may not be educators, which means is we're actually articulating, writing exactly what we're teaching, tied to the standards. We're putting it into this curriculum management tool, so if you're a new teacher coming into Watertown, you go there and you can see, oh, this is, okay, I see where I'm going with this. It's not just a paper in a teacher's drawer or what have you. It's just getting it more in one place and robust. Social emotional learning, that was also mentioned tonight across the district. There's a SEL team at each of the schools doing various things depending upon if it's secondary or elementary. As you know, responsive classroom, we're in year 2 of that for K-5, and year 1, grades 6 through 8. And it's not the same as elementary, but it is the same organization. It's called Responsive Classroom Advisory because it's more specific and tailored to the need of the early adolescent. And to give you an example of what the middle school teachers are doing, 26 of them spent 4 summer days at a training on responsive classroom, and they gave very high results on their survey of appreciating the work they've done, and then they're sharing what they have learned, those 26 teachers and staff members, at Donna's faculty meetings and elsewhere. The universal assessment. So last year we started with iReady, which is initially it's diagnostic, so in the fall, usually September, sometimes October if it was middle school maybe, you do a diagnostic assessment to see where the student is, and then halfway through the school year, maybe January, you go, where are we? Do we need some adjustments to practice based on those results? And then at the end of the school year, we look at it and go, how far did we come? Is it stretch growth, or is it typical growth, or did we miss it somehow? So that was K through 9 last year. However, because we had coaches at the elementary level, 4 of them, and the focus was much more on elementary, we have a very generous town and school committee, and when we were looking at the budget this year, we decided to leverage the good work that's happening at the elementary level into the middle school, and we hired 2 coaches, as folks mentioned a little bit earlier. So now we have 6 coaches, 4 elementary, 2 at the middle school, to help with things like all of the iReady data assessment. It's a lot of work, right? So we're sort of doing a do-over at the middle school and giving supports. We didn't have enough support given to the middle school last year. Also, for universal assessment at the high school, this is the 2nd year of having all 10th and 11th graders take the PSAT, which for myriad reasons is a good idea, not the least of which is some kids may not have signed up to take a PSAT and even really been thinking about it because they work on Saturday mornings or what have you. But it happens during the school day, the school district subsidizes it, and everyone takes it. So good stuff coming from that. Literacy, this is our third year of the partnership with Teaching Learning Alliance, or like we like to call them TLA, another acronym for you. And what we've done again, leveraged from the elementary school into the middle school. So we have folks that are middle school based consultants, not elementary, working with middle school folks, and we're focusing on 6th grade. And the reason we chose that is we looked at the data. And similarly, like we did Foundations K-1-2 to get phonics and spelling and word study done younger so that it multiplies over time, we're starting with 6th grade to support the work there and Writers Workshop. Lucy Calkins, reading and writers workshops again. I'm just saying that's all we focus on for literacy, and it's paying off, as you'll see in just a moment. Foundations again is the early elementary, K through 2. We just finished last year with our 3rd year of training all of the teachers on that. And finally, as the cute little Lowell School kiddo said, equity is huge. It underlies all of the work that we do, right, in the town and in our district. So inclusion model that is extensively used in Watertown and very well, supported by professional development, just this week by someone called Kathy Porcaro, who is a wonderful consultant that has done a lot of work at the high school with co-teachers in classrooms, gen ed teacher, a special ed teacher, making sure he supported kids. Now she's at the middle school, kind of doing the same thing. She's working on differentiating instruction actually with them right now. And then this was also mentioned by some of our partners in the community. We have the Anti-Bias Coalition that actually Dr. Galston conceived of. And we started, and it's all the members that were here in Watertown. What are some of the names of the groups that are trying this there? World of Watertown. I don't know. There's wonderful groups that are in there. So it's not, there's a handful of us from the schools, and there's a bigger handful from the community. And October 29th, we have our kickoff speaker coming, which Dee Dee has sent out some information on that. And then internally, we have the Watertown Public Schools Equity Team. And it's a cross-section of very active folks that are, one example of the work that we're doing is this year across the district, we're reading a book read on equity in the classroom and being culturally responsive and doing various different things at the schools. All right, moving on. Okay, so in just a minute, we're going to get to the district results. What I wanted to point out with this slide is at the very bottom, high school science still uses legacy, which means the old one, MCAS. All of the other ones, 3 through 8, and English language arts and math at the high school are all the next generation. So we changed the names from advanced and proficient to meeting expectations and exceeding expectations, etc. So the summary, Dee Dee showed this slide, or part of the slide anyway, on October 7th, but it deserves some reiteration here because the oval that I selected to put around that second column there, second to the end, is that all of our schools are not requiring our assistance or intervention. And so, again, the work that was started last year in developing the turnaround plan at the middle school, even though there's still lots of room to grow, it turned enough that they are no longer a turnaround school, and in fact, they have moderate progress toward their target. So that's what we want to see, is this positive trajectory, and it feels good. Again, the scoring categories. Let's skip over those. Okay, so elementary. So our fantastic principals are here, and they're going to go swiftly through their school-specific results, but this is taking all 3 elementary schools into light. The oval that I put around it just is pretty specific growth. So, for example, let's take grade 3. You can see across the line, grade 3 math and ELA has terrific growth in it. So if we look at, let's pick the math grade 3. As you can see, 2018 is at the top, and the yellow one is 2019. So while the state remained 49 and 50, right, essentially the same, you can see 39% of 3rd graders last year in our district were meeting expectations. And this year, 53% are. That's a huge leap in a year's time. And similarly in all of those categories that I have the circle around. So when we look at that too, and we think of foundations that I mentioned in the slide earlier, when you prepare teachers who prepare students deeply with literacy skills in the early elementary, it starts to pay off over time. So these circles, I'm hoping next year and the following year, based on all of the work that we're doing, they would continue into 4th grade and into 5th grade as well. I had one more thought, let me just think. Oh, I know. On the memorandum that you'll see, if for those of you who are interested and want to read this later on, I think it was important to note, we show MCAS and we show 1 year's time, but it really doesn't mean anything if you don't contextualize it with past years, etc. So when I was reading over my notes from last year, let me read you. I had written, okay, last year in 2018, the percentage of students meeting or exceeding expectations on the next generation ELA and math increased at every elementary grade level. Particularly in ELA in grade 3 was up 17% last year, and grade 5 was up 19% last year. Those are leaps and bounds, and it's not because we have a whole new cohort of kiddos or we have a whole new cohort of teachers, it's because we're teaching to the standards that are assessed. So huge growth last year too. Now add this onto it is my point in sharing that with you. So then I wrote this year in 2019, the significant improvement continues, particularly in grade 3 as I've shown there, up 9% in ELA and 14% in math. Huge growth. Let me flip along here. This is just, some folks like to look at it like, okay, what percent is exceeding, what percent is meeting, partially meeting, or not meeting at all. So I just have included those for those who want to take a peek at that. We just sort of lump it into meeting expectations because that's what we want all of our kids to be for MCAS. Student growth, really important. Moderate and higher is all you want to see. You don't want to see low growth, and we don't, which I'll show you in just a moment. So 40 to 59 is considered typical for moderate growth, and higher growth is 60 to 99. So student growth for the elementary, as you can see. So for the state, let's take a not so good one. So let's take grade 4, go to all students. And as you can see how the state doesn't fluctuate 50-50 there, even the high needs students in grade 4, 46-46. And the reason I'm kind of showing you that is when I'm saying we're up 19%, we're up 14%, or whatever, the state doesn't change that much. So when your district does, that's like super good news. It's just not just like 1 or 2 points. The ovals at the bottom, you're going to see 70% growth in our 4th grade students. That's that whole group of 4th grade students. 70% is high expectations. That's really, really good. Where especially when you see the state is at 50, so it's 20 points above in terms of the growth. That's what we like to see. This is our subgroups. When I see more ovals on the subgroups, that's very satisfying because we keep saying, if we spend a lot of our energies making sure that we rise the experience for all students who aren't performing, then that top group number, all students, is going to necessarily improve. So as you can see there, while there's still a achievement gap by far, you can see, there's still a lot of good achievement changes over time. Let's see. Oh, I love this one. Okay, so this is showing the cohort. So if 2 years ago in 2017, if I was a 3rd grader, only 31% of the 3rd graders met or exceeded expectations, whereas the state was 47, right? The bottom corner on the left. Then in 4th grade, the state was still 53, because it's always around 50. That cohort was now 52% of that cohort was meeting or exceeding expectations. And finally, that cohort, it gets into the 5th grade, and 54%. So that's what we want to see, is that continuous growth, and that's feeling like the work that teachers are doing is really paying off well for student achievement. Science, because science was the new next generation, you can't compare. The state tells you do not compare because it's a whole different test. So this year, we're just putting up this year instead, and we're right on the state. Let's see, caution not to compare. I don't know if I have anything else to say about that one. Our focus is definitely math and science. Math and English language arts. We have been doing a lot of work with STEM scopes that you might have heard with some of your kids and so forth. But obviously there's more to do because we want to be higher than the state, but still it's okay. And now we have our 3 principals that are going to be up here and talk specifically about their schools. So I think Mina is up first.
So the first slide is kind kind of accountability. And in terms of receiving total of 4 possible points, you'll see that kind of in terms of achievement, for math achievement, kind of earned 3 points, and growth 3 points as well as highlighted, because 3 out of 4 is good. And then there's still lots of room for growth in many of the areas that are noted there as well. On the next slide, we see the percent of students that scored meeting or exceeding expectations. And again, lots of room for growth at Cuniff. In some areas, we dropped a little bit, but again, Cuniff is a small school, so a drop sometimes can be a few students. And then there are areas where we dropped a little bit more than expected. And so in terms of all students and high needs, you can see there what's reflected of what we achieved in 2019 compared to 2018 in math and ELA. And then this third slide is our subgroup data. In terms of looking at this slide, I think the piece that we're looking at that was the most positive on this slide is that in grade 5, we did not see much of a change in terms of all students and high needs in terms of reaching the student growth percentile that we had last year. And then in the other grades, we dropped a little bit. And so just thinking about what that means for us in terms of a school, the thing that we can celebrate is the student growth percentile for all groups in grade 5 remain consistent when compared to last year's data in the cohort. And our focus is to regularly collect, analyze, and use data to inform the needs for reteaching all of our students. Just a couple of points that I wanted to make. I think this year we're off to a stronger start. I think all of the teachers and myself, we internalize the data, especially on a big test like MCAS. And I know this year we're really invested in working heavily with coaches. I know we have a calendar where there are regular coaching meetings taking place each month with math and literacy. There are conversations that are going on with coaches, which really shows ownership and understanding of the Lucy Calkins units of study in literacy and also in writing. Also, I know I sat in on a math meeting this morning, and the coaches and the grade level teams were talking about how to reach all of the students with their Eureka math materials in terms of reaching the lower level learners as well as extending for the higher, the students who need a little bit of an extension in their daily practice with math. We're also continuing to analyze data to inform instruction. We're looking forward to having Title I tutors in our school this year for literacy and math, so that's another strong piece as well. I know the iReady diagnostic is being used as well as the program component, and teachers are using that on a daily basis so that they can participate in math workshop and really meet with various groups of students during the hour that they're teaching mathematics. Additionally, I think one thing that we're going to do kind of as well as go back to the model we used in 2018, which was to go back and just administer the MCAS testing one grade level at a time. We're a very small school, and it was difficult last year to administer the ELA simultaneously, and we really believe that having familiar test takers give the accommodations to students really makes a huge difference, and we feel that that's something that we'd like to go back to as well. And then we have the absenteeism piece in our school that we're continuing to work with and really trying to foster relationships with families where we know that that is a problem. So we're taking ownership of what we delivered in terms of results, and we're really invested in moving forward and achieving at a higher level this year.
Hello everyone, I'm Erin Moulton, the principal at the Hosmer School, and I'm very excited to share with everyone that Hosmer was designated by the Department of Education as a school of recognition for high growth. And so a lot of the things that I'm going to point out this evening are reasons how that happened. So first, if you notice here where it indicates the number of points earned for progress towards improved targets, you can see that we earned all of the possible 4 points, both for achievement and for growth. This slide shows the percentage of students who were meeting or exceeding, similar to the previous slides that we looked at. There's one minor typo there, but something that you can see that runs true across the board is that we increased the percentage of students in meeting or exceeding in both subjects and in all grades. So kids at each grade level did, more students passed this year at every grade level than did the previous year. I'd particularly like to draw your attention to grade 3 math, which moved from 29% of students to 51%, which I think is a huge testament to the work of the teachers on that grade level team. Similarly, if you look at grade 4, which jumped from 52 to 57, if we do a cohort analysis, we would see that 29% of the students last year in 3rd grade are now the 57% of students in 5th grade. So also tremendous work by those grade level teams. We did also outperform the state in 4th and 5th grade ELA and in 3, 4, and 5 math, which is fantastic. And finally, SGP, as Teresa noted, any SGP that is over 60 is considered high. Anything in between 40 and 60, 59 is moderate growth. And if you look at our ELA, you can see that we were at 61 and 66, which is tremendous progress. And that same growth that I showed you back here with that cohort, their SGP was a 69, which is incredibly high growth. And something that we're particularly proud of is that 69 SGP also held true for our students in high needs, which means, you know, as I'm sure Stacy will be mentioning, that a rising tide raises all boats. So our celebration this year is our designation. It's been a real morale boost for teachers and a real energizer. Our focus is continuing to implement high quality tier 1 curriculum. Just keep doing the good work for all kids. With this year also zooming in more closely with our data analysis and really trying to improve our tier 2 supports in reading and ELL. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Stacy Phelan, the principal of Lowell School. So here we're looking at our accountability, and what you're seeing here is in ELA and math, we are exceeding the target for both ELA and math. And we had a little trouble with our chronic absenteeism the year before, and we seem to have improved upon that, so that was good. This is our ELA and math achievement, and if you look in the red is really school year 19, and what I'd like to highlight is that 76% of our 3rd graders the 76% of our 3rd graders met or exceeded the target. 64% of our students met or exceeded the target, and then in grade 5, 55% of our students met or exceeded the target for the all category. And in the math category, we have 62% of our students met or exceeded. In ELA, in grade 4 math, 77% of our students met or exceeded, and then 55% for the math. Our growth here, as Erin mentioned, moderate growth and high growth is what we're aiming to be in a category of, and we were in moderate to high growth. And I will point out that if you look down at grade 4 math, we hit 78% of our percent growth, which is amazing. And again, in grade 5, 63. And if you go up to ELA now, you see that we hit 62 and then 52. And our subgroups, or our high need students also, we're still meeting moderate growth, so we're really excited about that. Something to point out here for both first you saw the achievement and then you see the growth, but one of the things that you can't see that is highlighted, well, it's on our slide, is the big, huge celebration, I think, especially for the staff and myself, is that all of our subgroups exceeded their targets in ELA and in math, and so that really shows that all of our kids moved together forward this past year, and we hope to continue that growth into the years coming. And it really talks about the strong work of our teachers, both of our special educators with our general educators, and how they are really working together inside the classroom to give solid Tier 1 instruction, and that all students are really getting all the same education, and that's really powerful. We do want to continue to focus on our ELL students. We want our L students to be hitting their language proficiency. We want to make sure that our ELL students are also hitting their access targets. So that's another test that we take besides MCAS. We have access, and we want to make sure that our kids do as well on that test as they do on our MCAS. So thank you.
So before I go to the next slide, I would be remiss if I didn't say, one of the coaches that, was very helpful to the teachers in these outcomes was Erin happened to be a coach last year for mathematics too. So we want to leverage some of that experience across all 3 schools as well. And the other thing I want to point out is the slide where it showed 4th grade in 2 of the schools, it was like 70 or just over 70, and both of them, one was 78, one was maybe 72, I can't remember. And then the subgroup also of students, high need students, was up there just as high. That is success on so many levels that I could go on, but I'm not because of the football game. But I wanted to point out that it just shows that if we have the curriculum lined up, high expectations for all students and support, that all students can and will achieve to high levels. So we want to kind of figure out what we did there exactly, and then leverage that across. So it's pretty exciting. So this last slide before we go to the middle school and high school. So again, I think it's really important to consider this through line. We don't start new. We just continue with our research-based initiatives that we started. So on the left there showing, what we showed you last year, and then how we tweaked them and adjusted them. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of these on the right side. So in the last several years, like forever, way before I came here, Title I was targeted in this district. When targeted means you look at the schools that have figures that the state gives you for the high or low socioeconomic status. And you get a lot of money from the state, and then you decide where's the need in the district based on some of those numbers. So in the past couple of years, for example, it was at the elementary schools and the middle school, but only 2 of the elementary, at Hosmer and Lowell. This year, when I took the data and played with it, actually what came out is the high school has the largest percentage at 46 of a low socioeconomic student body. But we knew that if you put all of that money at the high school, then you're losing that whole group of kiddos that could make change, right? So instead what we did is all of our schools are 35% or above. So then because all of them were, we tweaked the algorithm and came up with putting the high school at the bottom and the elementaries to the top, so that school-wide versus targeted means this funding can be supported K through 8 in all of the schools, including Conniff Elementary and the middle school. And what that means is our focus now doesn't become certain students in certain classes, it becomes all students in all classes K to 8. That means this large sum of money can be used more effectively for the work that we're already doing. And we're going to hyper-focus this year. It's only the 2nd year that the state has given us this 25% lowest performance students list at each school. And last year we looked at it, we included it and everything, but we didn't hyper-focus on it. So this year, what we're doing is we're developing a individual student success plan for every child that's in the 25% lowest performing at each school. And in that plan is going to be, their literacy assessments at the schools. If they're an ELL student, it might be some of the access tests, whatever needs to be on that document. And we'll use it, each teacher will have students, one copy of that of the students that are in their class, and we're going to monitor it with our iReady, with everything else throughout the school year. So we're just hyper-focusing on those kids, again, to rise everybody. And also that means we have funding that we can have Title I tutors now at Conniff, Lowell, Hosmer, and the middle school. So again, spreading love. Year 2 implementation, let's see if there's anything else new there. That coaches, we just told you at the middle school, more science revision, we're just kind of working on that. Oh, last thing that's important on the bottom, the math curriculum program review. There hasn't been program reviews in several years in the district, so the curriculum coordinators, along with the principals, worked hard last spring and through the summer to have a 4-phase curriculum program review, and we're starting with mathematics because the data tells us to start with mathematics right now. So the two curriculum coordinators for the K-8, Elizabeth Kaplan and Dan Wolf at the high school, are going to co-lead a group of teachers and a couple of administrators on the math curriculum program review K through 12 to see what we're doing, what we should be doing, and make recommendations going forward. And now, Donna. Yes, sorry.
Let me take a pause here and see if there's some questions on the elementary.
Sure.
Let me do that. So if there's, from the school committee, any questions on the elementary that you want to raise at this point? This is the first time we've done all the schools at the same time, so I want to try to just break it up just a little bit. So questions or comments? I have one. I just want, and maybe the superintendent might speak to this one. If you go back to the, this is on the accountability data. I think it's slide 17. I just want to be clarification. This is with the CUNF. And so, you know, the CUNF gets kind of 0 points because I think what you want to maybe reiterate, 0 points on the top, is reiterate that I think the accountability is really, my understanding of it, is very much structured around going from year to year, and you set targets, and the targets are really based on kind of where you were in a particular year.
Yes.
And if you don't quite get that target, even though you may do well, you don't get the points.
Yeah, so very good point. Last year.
It looks kind of bad, but it's because of the way they structure the system, right?
Do you want to?
So just for example, if you look at third grade at the kind of in 2017, which was kind of the baseline where we set targets, the third grade performance in ELA math was really low, 24% and 17% in math. And then the following year, it was meteoric. It was 55 and 42. So the targets that were set for this year were based on some really strong data that was based on some really weak data the year before. So it's kind of a constant up and down based upon what the previous year's scores were like. So, you know, we want to continue having strong data, but we have to always acknowledge that means that the next year our target's going to be even higher, which is the whole point of this, is you want to keep growing. But sometimes when you have a big bump, such as the CUNF, that means that the targets were set even higher than I think that bump reflected. So yes, it is definitely based on previous performance.
And in some way, that's even more challenging for a small school.
Yes, it is. Right.
If you have a good cohort that goes through, then you're kind of, it sets you up in a difficult situation.
It does.
I just want to reiterate the point you made about kind of particularly some of the subgroups going up and that kind of equity issue. I think that's great. That's really a good sign. Other questions from the committee that people want to ask about Kendra?
I just have questions about 3 schools. I know we're doing so much work on aligning curriculum so that there's consistency between the 3 schools, which there really wasn't before, and I really appreciate that. There's still differences, and I don't like. Can you just talk about why those differences exist?
Yeah, I think it's kind of not. I don't know. Unfair is not the right word, but inaccurate to look at one year and go, oh, look at those differences. If you look, the last year kind of scores were, so now they're, and the other part that people don't recognize, I think, in the public is we give you achievement growth, but that doesn't mean if Hosmer's doing outstanding, it's actually 2 years in a row. That's why they got that school recognition, but their achievement might be actually lower than one of the other schools. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's not, so it's good. The good news is we're meeting students and schools where they are, which is what we want to do. So I forgot your question now.
So Kendra, so one thing, and I'm sure that Dr. McGinnis will follow up as well, but if you, and I'm doing my visits, and the Lowell is Wednesday, right? It's my last elementary school to go in. You will see consistency from building to building, from grade level to grade level, even like from, I was at one school on a Wednesday and another school on a Thursday, and they were in the same units in the same, program. So teachers teach it differently, but that's what we want, the creativity around how people deliver instruction. But we have worked so hard to ensure that consistency, and it's done through coaching, it's done through curriculum mapping, it's done through very strong, evidence-based curriculum that we're using, and you know, the data might be a little bit in flux, but the actual curriculum that we're delivering is very consistent. So I think that as the years progress, you're going to see more narrowing of the differences in terms of the data, but everybody started at a different place. So it's going to take a little bit of time for us to bring it a little bit together. But I can tell you from firsthand experience that what we're seeing in the classrooms is pretty solid. And our teachers are working really hard to do that, and they're being supported almost every day with the coaches and with their principals. So I think that those are the layers that we didn't have in the past that make all the difference. So I think we're moving right along to where we should be.
And to piggyback on that, I said a little bit earlier, we didn't have Title I supports the way we did at the two other. So we had tutors who were working specifically with students who were in the lowest achieving group. This year, we will have Title I supports at all 3 schools. So because iReady last year was new, and so implementation is harder if you have less people around to do it, because teachers are teaching all day long. So you need those supports of the coaches, etc. So when we look at budget, just a little forecast, next year, maybe we ask for individual coaches at each of the 3 schools. We have 4 coaches at the elementary level right now, but 2 are shared between the Lowell School and the Cunniff. So, you know, that could improve too, just in terms of that support for teachers with the data collection and use. So,
any other questions or comments on the elementary? Okay, thank you. Secondary?
Donna Martin, principal of the middle school. Again. So here's our accountability. It went up from last year, which was terrific. You can see, especially in our lowest performing students, we got many more points there. We still need to work on the growth in the English language arts achievement, but again, we just went over that. And last year, the number at the bottom was 17%, so this year it's 55%, so that's really better. It does average out the way they calculate it to 40%. Still, we're going in the right direction, so that's excellent. That was a fun slide to see. So here's our achievement. I know the circles are off a little bit, but you can see, so especially the grade 6 ELA, the high needs, made some good progress there. The state only went up by 1, we went up by 9. And then also grade 7 and 8, or I'm sorry, grade 7 math and grade 8 math went up there too as well, so based on the state. So those look good there. And then the student growth, so grades, again, grade 7 and 8 math, you can clearly see, based on the state, so grade 8 math, for example, the state stayed the same, we went up by 20. So it's excellent. In grade 8 high needs, they went down by 1 and we went up by 18. So some great progress there, grade 7 and 8 math, and then we still need to do some work there. And although I can see the high needs there, grade 7 ELA went up, and some good work there. Grade 6 is our focus. I'm going to talk about that and sort of moving forward. Here are those cool charts that Teresa put in, so you can see the visual there. All right, so here in the SGP, you can see some definite, there's no circles, but if you look at sort of the grade 7 achievement based on the SGP, there's some 60s there and economically disadvantaged, and the high needs there, so we're in the 60s for the SGP and in the high 50s. Again, grade 8 math as well, some good achievement there, some good growth there. So the Asian subgroup, I apologize, I don't have the numbers from last year, but I can tell you that so it was the Asian subgroup, the lack of growth that put us into turnaround status, and overall, we have a lot of work needed to be done, so I consider the turnaround status sort of a blessing, but the Asian subgroup all went up, so that was nice to see, and we'll continue to make it that one of our focuses, moving forward. Here's the cohort slide, so we can see especially from grade 6 to grade 7 in math with some good progress, and then grade 7 to grade 8 some good progress, so that was one of the highlights was our math from grade 7 and 8 this past year. So our celebration, we met our exceeded targets for achievement and growth for the lowest 25%. Made some good progress there. And our focus is, as I already described, our turnaround plan. I'll just kind of whip through some of the stuff. Some of the stuff is the same as what Teresa already talked about. We have the turnaround plan. We're thrilled, and we thank you very much for the instructional coaches. They're doing an amazing job working with the teachers, so it's just fabulous having them there. And we're sort of moved from kind of data meetings to collaborative inquiry meetings where they're really sort of looking at all sorts of different student data, assessment, looking at student work to really dive deep into what students are doing and what the teachers need to do to help them even achieve more. And they'll be doing grade 6 coaching cycles. Grade 6 is our focus. We have TLA, just like at the elementary school, to start to implement the Calkins Writers Workshop. So she'll be doing some professional development. They were already there twice. They'll be coming again on November 5th. The math co-teachers are having all grade 6 through 8, but specifically with grade 6, Kathy Picaro coming, and she's really working with the special educators. And Amy, you talked earlier about the vocabulary, and that's one of the main things, going down the math classes and hearing sort of different vocabulary. So really trying to consolidate that vocabulary so students hear the same thing class to class, grade to grade. So that's just one of the things she's focusing on. Again, thrilled to have Title I tutors. They're going to be starting very soon, one math, one ELA, specifically starting with grade 6, all grades, but focusing on grade 6, and continuing to look at that curriculum transition from grade 5 to 6. We had some science teachers last year. Grade 6 goes to the elementary school. We'll continue with that, some math teachers, et cetera, so that they can see what the elementary students can do and really bring that up to the middle school. Like Teresa said, the math curriculum review from K to 12. And we have a great iReady online assessment implementation this year, much improved from last year, and this is a lot of the same. I don't want to repeat things that myself and Teresa already said, but that's, and the DCAP, which I'm co-chairing with the guidance counselor from the high school. So for, again, the tier 1 supports for all teachers, we'll be making that much more user-friendly to support students.
Go ahead.
Shirley Lundberg, principal at the high school. And this is our accountability slide. And